Tim Hudak joins us in studio, the leader of the Ontario Conservative Party. And obviously, you guys are in election mode too, but that's not coming up to the fall. But when I see this time of the year, I keep going back to that great movie based out of New York back in the early, I'm just lost with, where they would line everybody up to vote in the morning, shave, and go back and vote in the afternoon. Gangs of New York.
Gangs of New York, yeah.
You remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
Because Leonardo DiCaprio was in that one, and the British guy.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day-Lewis,
yeah. He was the one that's getting him to vote in the morning and then shave and go back and vote. The Butcher.
Yeah.
So things have changed a little bit. The systems are somewhat smoother. Is it confusing? Do you think it's confusing right now with...
When you have to shave and then go vote?
For you particularly. Do you think it's confusing when we've got... Yeah, we had Michael Ignatieff on the air earlier today, and now we're talking provincial politics. Are the waters getting muddy here because people are asking him questions about provincial issues?
Well, people want answers, right? And people really don't care if you're municipal, provincial, or federal. They just want straight talk about the issues that concern them, whether it's hydro issues, whether it's taxation, jobs. So that happens all the time. You do your best to answer, even if it's not your level of government. But I do find that when Election Day comes around, people do focus, Gary. They do focus on the choices before them, the federal election for May 2nd, and then we have a provincial one come October. And I'm looking forward to that. And I've got Michael Harris joining me in studio here from Kitchener-Conestoga, and Dave McDonald from Kitchener Centre as well.
71,400 people on the provincial sunshine list. We had an awful lot of interesting comments about that earlier in the show. You weren't here for that, obviously. I thought the idea of publicizing the Sunshine List was another level of accountability and potentially, I don't know, making the list smaller, not bigger every year.
Yeah, you'd think you'd go the other way or at least control it. It has tripled under the current McGuinty government. And you're right, it's now the population of Sarnia, Ontario, the number of government employees making $100,000 a year or more. And you just think of, who has to pay those bills, right?
Yeah.
It's families, it's senior citizens in the private sector side who have gone through some pretty tough times, are rightly quite upset when they see the explosion of government workers, $100,000 a year or more.
Well, I know it ticks me up, but then again, maybe I'm just jealous because I'm not on the list. We've got some email questions. The phone lines are open. The idea is Tim and I can talk all day, but we want to know what you think. 519-570-2545 in town. Out of town toll free, 1-800-570-5750. And the cell phone number, hands free, is star 570. Two ways to email me. You can go to the webpage at 570news.com and click on the show page. Or if you've got your smartphone handy, it's just Gary at 570news.com. It'll get here as well. And we are webcasting today, which would explain why I had to find a shirt with a collar on it. Friday is kind of dress down day, and dress down day in radio. I'm telling you, that's drastic.
I think you're looking good, Gary. Very, very handsome fella here before me.
Right. All the good-looking guys are on TV. Brian sends this along. Tim, what are your thoughts on the federal election going on right now? And do you think it's taking the public's attention away from the provincial budget?
That's a good question. Well, I support Prime Minister Harper. I'll be supporting my local Conservative candidate. And today, Michael Harris and I are going to Harold Albrecht's office opening, who's a great guy. Does it take away from provincial? There's no doubt, right? People, it's a federal election happening. There's more on the news with whatever the Prime Minister or his opponents are talking about that day. That's the nature of the business. You never know when this is going to happen. So what do? Continue to do my job, holding the government to account in question period, asking the right questions, and then traveling around the province, like being here in KW today, to talk to people about where they want to see this province go.
I thought fixed election dates were going to solve that.
We do have that provincially, so we know it's October 6th, but I guess with the minority situation federally, It's a bit of a crapshoot.
It is a bit of a crapshoot. Jason, you're on 570 News. Tim, you're going to put the headset on.
Mr. Hudak, welcome to KW. I want to ask you a question. With Dalton McGuinty being in power right now, he really did a lot of bad stuff for families. He did not help us in any way or form. Raise our taxes, raise the gases, raise everything. Everything went up. I want to know what you are going to do for the little guys. And, little guys, the guys that make under $30,000 a year.
Well, I'm hearing from folks everywhere I go that struggling to make ends meet. Hydro bills are going through the roof. HST tax credit put 8% more on the basics like heat, hydro, and gas. And I want to say we've got a number of options that we put on the table to hear from average hardworking families about how to make them balance the books. And I want to encourage you to go to our website. It's called haveyoursayontario.ca. I'll give you some of the options we put out there. Abolishing the HST on some of the basics like heat, hydro, gas for your car, cutting the rate of the HST by a point or phasing a 2-point reduction in, income tax reductions. We put all these options on the table to hear from folks on what will help them the most, and then we'll move forward with our plan this spring on how we can help average families make ends meet.
Okay, Jason? All right, Jason's already gone. Why not just abolish the HST? I know you hear that question a lot, but why not? Is it that much of a nightmare to get rid of?
We've signed a pretty bad deal with a poison pill. It is one of the options we put out there to hear from people. The poison pill is that we would have to pay back the $4.3 billion to the federal government. That's the money that's been given out in these bribe checks in the run-up to the next election campaign, and hire back sales tax collectors. It is an option we're asking people about. But I am actually hearing more from people about abolishing it on the basics, like the heat and hydro, or reducing the rate. Those tend to be the top two things that people check when they go to our survey at haveyoursayontario.ca.
Okay. All right, let's keep rolling with the phone calls. Jim, you're on 570 News.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I just got a question for Mr. Hudak. Under the new system, the way school bus companies have to go out there and get contracts from the board, it's called an RPF. And I know that there are companies that have lost all their work altogether and had to lay off all their employees. Then there's other companies that have had to lowball the bids and causing bus drivers to essentially be the lowest paid in the province. I'm wondering how your government would address that issue, because we take more training than a city bus driver, but yet we're only paid $45 a day.
I didn't know the difference in the pay. I mean, here's how I would handle this. Obviously, you need to make sure that for tax dollars you get the best deal you can. However, the concern that I have with the current government's approach is it's almost like a cookie cutter, one size fits all, which means a lot of these smaller operators that have been around in our province for a while and had good relationships with their boards are being cut out of the process. I think there needs to be some way when you put these contracts out there to make sure that the small business has an opportunity to bid on contracts, can access them. The current setup seems to be benefiting the largest international corporations and leaving out the small guy.
Okay, Jim.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jim. 519-570-2545 in town, out of town, toll free. 1-800-570-5715 on the cell phone number. Hands free is star 570. You can email us at 570news.com and then just click on the show page. We're with Ontario Conservative Leader Tim Hudak. Here's a question for you from Atwood. Mr. Hudak, you do have family ties in Perth County. What do you have planned for this area? We're not Toronto. We have different needs as do all other communities outside of the GTA.
I appreciate the question from Atwood. That's actually where my wife's grandma, Olive Clark, lives in Atwood, and my wife's from Listowel, Ontario. Let me say, too, to listeners out that way, condolences and deepest sympathies from the PC party and my family as well, and the loss of two volunteer firefighters tragically in that fire in Listowel a week or so ago. We need to realize that the small town Ontario is different from the big cities, different challenges. And one big issue that when Randy Pettipiece and I were in Mitchell and in Listowel we heard about was the first, job creation is an important one, energy rates, of course, too. But the industrial wind farms are being put down across rural Ontario without any local say. Usually municipalities can have a say if a Tim Hortons is coming to town, a 7-Eleven is coming to town, but for industrial wind farms, it could be multiple football fields in length. Suddenly their voice doesn't matter, and it's all decided at Queen's Park. I think that's wrong. I would restore local decision-making so local families can have their say and local councils can vote on projects, on siting decisions. I think we all support renewable energy, but two things. It needs to be affordable to families who pay the bills because the current contracts we're signing are way too expensive. And secondly, in communities where it's welcomed.
All right, we're with Ontario Conservative Leader Tim Hudak. More of your questions in just a minute. This is 570 News.